Hope you all are doing well after the holiday last week. I know things get a little truncated in this period, so thank you all for making the time to join us for an hour today. All right, I've got most of the people who are waiting in, and I'll keep letting people in as they join, but I'll get us started so that we can make the most of our time together. So this is the quarterly meeting of the Alaska Energy Training Group. Really a gathering of energy professionals throughout Alaska's different training, troubleshooting, workforce development, technical assistance fields. And we have the shared goal of improving our coordination, fostering more collaboration, really across regions and industries, with the kind of through line of upkeep of energy facilities, whether that's water plants or diesel engines or heat pumps, which we discussed last time. And this group is a shared initiative facilitated by REAP, Renewable Energy Alaska Project, and in close collaboration with the Denali Commission. It's open to all related partners and ideas that help us de-silo our work and spread solutions to shared challenges. And my name is Jenny Stars. I work for REAP, a statewide nonprofit dedicated to accelerating energy efficiency and renewable energy. And I'm based here in Anchorage on Denali lands. And it would be great to hear from folks in the room. If you could drop an introduction in the chat with anything that would be helpful for folks in the room to know, your name, organization, things like that. Yeah, and while those are rolling in, I will introduce our topic and our panelists for the day. So we're going to have a couple different presentations and discussions on weatherization and related home energy training, workforce development, best practices, those sorts of things from our experienced panelists, Emmett Leffel, Rosa Vogel, and Kevin Blackwell. And hope to, as always, save some time at the end for Q&A, group discussion, and then updates from the group. If any questions come up, during the first portion of presentations, please put them in the chat and we'll either address them in real time or I'll make sure to flag them at some point in the discussion to get answered. Wanted to mention again, as we have more people joining, that we are recording today. We'll just share this on the REAP YouTube channel after the fact and with the full group for anyone who wasn't able to attend. So yes, like I said, our topic today is weatherization and building science trainings in Alaska. And we have seen how vital these programs are for Alaska's cold and energy intensive climate. And now there's a real boom in state and federal programs and incentives, promising more demand for this work for weatherization contractors and crews, energy raters, auditors, and more. And there's a lot to learn from past weatherization and efficiency programs in the state. And then there's also a lot of new tools and technology to implement or to consider implementing this time around. So we hope to discuss sort of both of those things today, as well as all of your questions. So our first presenter is Rosa Vogel, project coordinator at Cold Climate Housing Research Center. CCHRC is located in Fairbanks, where their team researches and promotes building solutions for sustainable and efficient homes in cold climates. They also offer various efficiency trainings and building science skills. Sorry, trainings for various efficiency technology and building science skills. And today, Rosa is going to be talking about their new weatherization installer badges. So I will turn it over to Rosa. And can you unmute?
Great. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So hi, yeah, I'm Rosa Vogel. I'm the project coordinator at the Cold Climate Housing Research Center. And I am, yes, exactly as you said, talking about our cold climate weatherization installer badges, which we're really excited to present. It's been a long time coming. We've been working on this for about 9 months. So what we've done is we have taken some base content that was provided by the National Renewable Energy Lab as the weatherization installer badges, and we have worked with this company called Everblue, which developed their curriculum into a base curriculum, and then we have adapted that curriculum to be applicable for cold climates. So the goal of the badges program is it's an online skills development. It's an online portal with online classes. So we have 25 modules. Each one's called a badge. And the goal is to get, a basic level of weatherization knowledge and building science education into everyone who is performing weatherization work. So this is really aimed at recent high school graduates. It's aimed at people who are entering the weatherization industry, and it's also aimed at homeowners who are hoping to do DIY projects and in a way that's, approved for cold climates. So what our team did is we evaluated every single badge, and we just looked at the base content. We decided, is this sufficient for building in cold climates or not? And if it was not, then we added our own additional content and to make it applicable and the best practice for climate zones 6, 7, and 8, which we have here in Alaska. So the way that the badges program works is, here I have a video where you can see. So here's the online portal. Each badge comes with a base content video, which is just video showing you how to do a certain task, like air sealing, or this one is venting a clothes dryer to the exterior. And then it has a reading, which I didn't click on here, and then it has a 5-question quiz. Completed and passed the 5-question quiz. Uh-oh, have I lost you guys?
I can still hear you. It's just a little choppy, but I think you're still there. Just a little frozen, glitchy from time to time. Glitchy. Okay, now you might be dropped off. Let's see.
There she is. Maybe.
Maybe. Rosa, are you still there? All right. I think we might be having some connectivity issues with Rosa. Yeah, I think we lost her for now. Let me give her a second, and if she's not able to reconnect, we'll move over to maybe Kevin and then come back to Rosa. I think we think. Can you hear us again, Rosa? Well, 5th meeting, this is the first time this has happened, so I'll consider that pretty good for Alaska's general broadband Wi-Fi status. Okay, I think we will pause. I think I can stop her screen share. Let's see if I can do that. All right. So I have Rosa on hold. Hopefully we can get her back in the middle. Maybe she can get on a hotspot or something, but I'll try to troubleshoot with her. Kevin, is it okay if we jump over to you?
Absolutely, yeah. Can you hear me? Is my audio good?
Yes.
Okay,
And
perfect.
yes, perfect. I can cue you up. Kevin is the energy specialist at Alaska Housing Finance Corporation. Alongside its many financing and housing programs, AHFC maintains a list of energy raters that they have agreements with around the state, and is involved in many efficiency training and rebate programs. So today Kevin's going to give us an update on the Energy Rater program and pathway, and hopefully, yeah, get some feedback from you guys about what you're seeing and hearing. So go ahead, Kevin.
Perfect. Thank you, Jenny. Good morning, everybody. Great to be here with you. And boy, I have been speaking about Energy Raters, Alaska, and just kind of the dynamics of the two for many months. And so it is really great to see a lot of people interested in the future of energy rating here in Alaska. So just to let everybody kind of know where we're starting from, at the current moment, there are 29 Alaska Housing Finance Corporation approved energy raters in the state of Alaska. And so it's an interesting question, and I know that it is one I look forward to hearing Emmett's input, hearing any input from the rest of you in the audience. And so that is a number that is down from the peak of energy raters, kind of in the heyday of the rebate era. But also what is nice is that there are 8 new energy raters that have just been brought on. So that's one of the ways that I like to think about it, is that the number of energy raters here in Alaska has actually gone up by 1/3 just since 2022. And so that was the last time that Alaska Housing Finance Corporation did a training. We had quite a few people sign up for that training, but ultimately we had 8 applicants make it all the way through that training. And what is very nice is, I think just in August, the last person from that training cohort finished the process and is now an approved energy rater. So again, 29 current energy raters here in the state of Alaska. 8 of them are brand new as of in the last 2 years. And there is also one more candidate. So that is something that I will come back to in just a moment. But there are 2 avenues, 2 pathways to becoming an approved energy rater here in the state of Alaska. And so when Alaska Housing Finance Corporation does a training, we generally do that through the MARS program. And that is the training that we put on, that 8 people just recently finished. Any person has to apply with AHFC, but can ultimately do a training with BPI. And so we have one person that is currently in that process, still kind of working through the final steps of becoming an approved rater. As for kind of an update from Alaska Housing Finance Corporation, kind of where we are and what we're focused on at the moment. Currently, we're working on just the recertifying of our current energy raters here in the state of Alaska. So we are currently working on putting together that MARS course that I've referred to. Currently working on putting that together in the springtime to recertify all of the raters here in the state of Alaska, just to make sure that everyone is up to date. Is up to date. And so that's currently what we're working on for the spring. And it is not set in stone, but we would like to do a training for people that are interested in getting into the energy rater field of work. We would love to provide a training for that the following fall. So not quite a year from now, but yeah, hopefully maybe sometime September, October time frame to do that. We are just to let everyone in the audience know, we are still looking for qualified applicants. And we're just looking at folks that are interested in the training currently. I have about 3 people, 3 to 4, that have expressed interest in doing the training. We have kind of like a running list of folks who have expressed interest over time as well. But yeah, like I said, it is an interesting process to offer something, and to just kind of understand what is the need that we have as as the state of Alaska, and then also to understand how many people want to do it. And so yeah, I guess maybe I will leave with one thing real quick, and I'm going to share my screen, and hopefully we can have this come up. Yeah. So this is it's a PowerPoint slide that I made. I wonder if I can make it full screen. Perfect. Can I maybe just see one person's thumbs up if you can see it? All right, great. Thank you, Emmett. So I know that this slide is busy, but this was my best attempt at trying to put together a concise one-page resource for folks to know exactly what goes into becoming an energy rater, because Rosa and I actually talked about this in kind of one of our pre-meetings, and have discussed it with quite a few other folks, that sometimes it's just hard to understand what you need to begin the process, right? And so at any rate, this is not a final document. I'm still working on a few tweaks, a little bit of kind of graphic design work, but essentially we are looking for folks that have 8,000 hours of education, training, and experience in kind of construction areas, right? And so ideally that is weatherization, building science, construction. But again, so we're looking for folks that have that much experience. They have a high school diploma, and a couple of other kind of background checks. They also need to be able to kind of perform all the tasks that go along with being an energy rater. And after when they have completed that, they apply with us. And this is kind of where I talked about earlier, these are the 2 pathways that they have to go through. So there's either a MARS path or a path through BPI. Those are just 2 different building science trainings. Along with that, there's a handful of other trainings, cold climate building, one for building energy efficiency standards, our B's standard here in Alaska. Another, the energy modeling software that we use is ACWARM. And so you go through a class to understand that. And then also a blower door workshop and a combustion safety workshop. And so after all of that is completed, then the aspiring rater has to complete 5 energy ratings, have them all approved by AHFC. And that is what it takes to become an energy rater here in the state of Alaska. So again, we have a good number of energy raters, but always looking to kind of fill out those ranks, especially as new incentive programs come online, and as people get more interested in energy efficiency here in the state of Alaska. So look forward to your updates. I will drop my contact information into the chat. If you know anybody who meets these requirements and is interested in becoming an energy rater, by all means, get in touch. And if you have any more questions just about energy rating in general in the state of Alaska, I'm happy to answer them. But thank you guys for your time.
Thank you, Kevin. I have one quick clarifying question
Sure.
about the graphic and all the different classes you showed, which was really helpful.
Oh, yeah.
Are all of those classes in-person classes or is it a mix of virtual and in-person?
Great. That's a great question. So like I said, kind of a few different tracks. Let's see. For track 1, if you're going through the MARS certification, the Saturn class is online. The MARS class currently is not online. There is some work basically work in progress to have that be able to happen virtually. But then the cold climate, and basically the rest of those classes at the moment are happening in person, and just kind of wanting folks to have good hands-on, and like definitely understand that that is a barrier to entry for having people have to travel, and kind of all of the yeah, just the details, and yeah, how hard that is for folks in a state that is so big. And so there is a push to make as much of it online as possible. But for right now, again, kind of the Saturn class is what is definitely online. The Mars is working that way, and everything else currently is in person.
Great. Thank you. Are any other clarifying questions from folks before we move on? Robin.
Yes, hi Kevin. I'm down in Juneau, and I teach here at the university, and I teach a cold climate construction class based on Alaska Housing Finance's textbook, basically. But my question was for folks that are interested in becoming an energy rater, is there any incentive or some kind of a way for them to purchase the equipment that's required? It's blower door testing, you know, you run into quite a bit of equipment costs there.
Yeah, that is a great question. I was actually just in the field maybe a month ago with an energy rater who had purchased his blower door and a few other parts of his kit from someone who had retired from the trade. And so I kind of, yeah, to the best of my understanding, I think that that is a pretty common way, at least to get your foot in the door to begin doing ratings, is just to, if there is a rater in your area that is kind of moving on to something else, I would have to look around, and I think I do have the information of someone who is looking to sell a blower door. So again, I'll drop my information into the chat. Maybe a good conversation to continue and to follow up on. Yeah, I don't know if there are no HFC programs, I guess, to kind of to help folks with that.
Yeah, and I guess the reason I brought that up is because I assume that you're going to be pushing this out to the community and advertising it. And so I think that people need to know that just taking the classes that's one thing to get the knowledge, but then you also have to make an investment and have a business license and a few other things like that.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, all very good points. Yeah, thank you.
Great. Thank you. Okay, I think we're going to try to get back to Rosa. So kind of going backward in, the pathway, the progression, back to sort of more entry level knowledge and skill building for weatherization crews with Rosa after hearing about energy raters from Kevin. So Rosa, is your connectivity a little better now?
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. I think my internet sort of freaked out when I tried to share the video. So I'm not going to share my screen, but I will just talk about it. So basically, I think where I left off is each badge is composed of a video, a how-to video, a job aid or like a reading guide with pictures, and a quiz. And so after you have completed those in our portal, then you can have a quality control inspector. That would be someone like a foreman or your supervisor on a job site, check off that you have completed that task in the field. So not only do you know the science behind it and why you're doing it and the best way to do it, you have actually completed it. So, I mean, I think I've shared most about it, and I'm open to questions, but right now we're launching December 9th is when our program opens. You can pre-register now, and we have a discount. The program, we want it to be very accessible to people. Each badge should take only 10 to 15 minutes. So you can complete a lot of badges in just a short amount of time. You could do one or two during your lunch break. That's sort of the goal of these. They're mobile friendly and they're low bandwidth friendly. So good in internet like mine, that doesn't work so well. And so right now we're looking for people to sign up as participants. It's only $35 now until December 16th when it goes up to $50. And we're also looking for supervisors, quality control and QCIs, quality control inspectors is what the program calls them, but we're looking for supervisors or employers to join. And we're also looking for organizations or companies that want to either purchase a bulk deal, you can, buy a certain number of passes, or offer scholarships. Yeah, we're looking for, people to join. We want this to get out there, and we're open to feedback, and we're just eager for people to start using this platform that we put a lot of work into adapting.
Awesome. Thank you. And I'll make sure to share your slides with everybody after the meeting so that they have all the information in one place. I know REAP is really excited about having this as like a virtual tool, especially for students who are, go through like an introductory efficiency class and want to see a little bit more about like what working in weatherization would be like. So yeah, I mean, I would say if anyone is interested or, having trouble with the $35 access, to get in touch with Rosa or me. Like, we have some, small stipends that we can rustle up. But yeah, I think it's going to be a great tool for, sort of like introductory skill building.
And I just put our link, cchrc.org/badges in the website if you want to learn more or if you want to sign up.
Awesome. Thank you. Any questions, clarifying questions or others specifically for Rosa about the badges? All right. Well, I will get your input again later in like a bigger discussion, Rosa, but thank you for sharing that and for all the work you guys put into the past 9 months. That's a long time to birth a program, so to speak. Okay. Now we'll move on to Emmett Leffel. So Emmett is a building analyst who runs ATI Services, a home inspection service company. He's worked through many different trainings, many different projects and programs, and regions throughout the state, as well as collaborated extensively with CCHRC as an ex officio board member. I know he was involved in their development of the badge program using his lived experience with cold climate housing and weatherization to help bring that knowledge into the program. And he's joining us today to discuss his experiences with cross training and different helpful programs in the building science sector, as well as his experiences working with some different state programs in the past, what he's excited about on the training horizon, all of that. So thank you for joining us, Emmett. Is your connectivity okay with the slides shared?
Yeah, can you hear me loud and clear?
Yes.
Great,
Yes.
thanks for the intro. I appreciate that. And I think I wanted to create this slide, and it's chaos. If anybody here is starting to freak out because it's kind of chaotic, it's intentional. My training over the last since 2008 has been kind of chaotic in some ways. A lot of it's been through Alaska Housing. They've been an amazing sponsor for energy rating training, healthy homes training, BPI training. So they facilitated a lot of it starting in 2008. So that's where I started getting some of my training early on for an energy rater. I started out in the bottom right corner as a mechanical administrative contractor, master plumber, UA trained, and just started to look at doing energy ratings because I needed to get one for my own self, right? And so I couldn't get anybody to answer the calls. My wife and I happened to see a video on TV about energy ratings and thermal imaging. It's like, this is what we need to do to save some money. And so that's where our journey started. And so what I wanted to impress upon everybody here is, what it's taken for me to stay in business and to stay busy. doing full-time testing, energy ratings, building diagnostics, was this barrage of training over the last couple decades. And so one of the things that I found really helpful starting out as an energy rater was getting involved, right? I'm currently an ex officio member of Cold Climate. I sat on the board, Cold Climate Housing Research Center, that is. And I've got involved with Raters Association, Alaska Association of Energy Professionals, and also I've gotten involved with organizations like Alaska Building Science Network, where we did work with them through some of the VEEP programs, the Village Energy Efficiency programs, and Alaska Craftsman Home program, and also through the what's the name of it? Sorry, ACAT, Alaska Center for Appropriate Technology. It's a thriving little organization that's worth your time as well. But so these organizations helped me get in contact with people and identify what were some of the programs going on through the state. And so when I was lucky enough to be involved with Lead for Homes, which is rare in Alaska, I was probably the only energy rater in Alaska that was doing Lead for Homes energy ratings, which is where I picked up the Energy Star certification. So over on the left side, you see the Lead for Homes Green Rater. I had several bridge projects through a provider out of Washington that was managing projects out on Eielson Air Force Base, where we do hundreds of homes. So I got into sampling energy ratings for those programs and for through Energy Star as well. So very early on, I got an introduction to Energy Star, and I saw the value in that program. And it's starting to catch on. It's starting to snowball a little bit in Alaska, but it's huge across the country. And through Energy Star, I started seeing this ResNet affiliation, and now we have Building Science Institute, which is another firm that's organization that's providing rating certifications through Alaska Housing for Alaskan energy raters. And so it's gotten convoluted a little bit there. But I think what I wanted to press upon the group was this need for training has to be. It's somewhat difficult in Alaska because Alaska Housing did an amazing job of getting programs into Alaska, into energy raters, into builders and contractors, but there's limitations there still because there was oftentimes these programs really couldn't start up on their own. But BPI has a whole facet of training modules, whether it was for the building analyst specifically or even healthy homes evaluators. And so one of the other biggest training certifications that I picked up that was special, I don't know that many other raters went through and got this, but it facilitated other larger projects for me that helped keep my business open and flourishing, was the Infrared Training Center, which is an in-person training in the States. It was fairly expensive, but it was for thermography. And once I got that certification, within 5 years, I was getting the second tier certification because it led to U.S. Army Corps of Engineer projects and then recognition for thermography projects for larger corporations and for larger organizations. And it helped. One of the things that thermography did for me it's never a requirement for energy raters. Like ResNet and BSI don't have a requirement for thermography. But one of the things that it did for me was it opened up my eyes to this building science, right? And so the far left image is a logo that I've had, and it's a house within a house, and it demonstrates the building envelope and the effect of wind and heat loss through a building, right? And sometimes we get misalignments there. Thermal imaging allowed me to see that and allowed me to test for that and identify deficiencies in the house. And this was something that I started learning more from my customers and clients than they learned from me, is what I mean to say. And so because of the thermography and the testing applications, I would basically go into each house, start applying some of this information that I picked up from Energy Star or Lead for Homes, and I'd start testing this home and identifying what needs to be fixed with that home. So I approached each home and each client as if I was fixing their problem in their home, much like a doctor would with our body sometimes. And I would just ignore sometimes the energy ratings as far as, you know, the most cost-effective improvement options. It would be there, but I would focus on the building science and identifying, you know, how is this alignment of the thermal envelope in the air barrier system? How is that critical? And so my approach really allowed me to, I started identifying some unique cases and issues that nobody else was really touching on, and I started gaining ground in that aspect. And so it was my personal goal to achieve knowledge and information and a better understanding of some of the science that led me down this road. I wanted to add the Air Barrier Association of America. It's a big connection to, I got that certification for as an air barrier auditor, and it's kind of unique and special, but it's connected to the Army Corps of Engineers projects. But what it did was it helped me understand the innate requirements from manufacturers on how these air barriers are to be installed. And it helped me understand some of the problems in the organizations like ABBA, because they're oftentimes controlled by corporations that create air barrier products. But it helped me understand some of the innate problems that were in the industry when it comes down to air barriers. And so it really gave me some insights that not many people had. And that helped me to set myself apart from a lot of architects and engineers, because I was actually working with the products, working with contractors, identifying problems and understanding the baseline issues that were bubbling up because of these new industries. And so ABBA really started coming about in 2009. The Army Corps of Engineers started testing in 2009 because of a 2005 report that came out about some mold issues down in the States because of air leakage. And so that type of testing requirements and my training, I just happened to hit timing right, where I got to get my foot in the door with thermal imaging, air barrier testing, air barrier inspections. And I even started doing design reviews because of my experience level with testing buildings. And so I found a niche, but it was because I started seeking out some of these programs. And because of my involvement in organizations. And so it's one of the things we want to encourage people coming into the field. We want to encourage involvement in organizations, whether it's ACATS, a newer cold climate housing research, getting affiliated, getting associated with these organizations. It has a big impact on where you end up going and who you end up meeting. One of the last certifications I picked up, and I'm sorry if I don't want to go too long, but was the ICC codes. And so since 2008 to about 2021, I did energy ratings, building diagnostics, testing, and inspections for the Army Corps projects solely. And that allowed me to travel throughout the state of Alaska, which is one of the other approaches I made. Is I didn't focus on one community, I focused on all of them, and it broadened my entire understanding of building science in different climates, right? So a lot of times that should be recommended in any case, this better understanding of what happens in a coastal climate versus an interior Arctic climate, because there's different approaches to construction, there's different approaches to building science there, and what works in those different environments. And so just to speed this up, I hope to answer questions. These are some of the programs that I saw the most beneficial from. And these are all DOE programs. We're trying to find ways to implement them into Alaska to get the builders to start learning to work with them. But they have, when I've worked with builders on a consulting basis, because I don't do a lot of new home construction, honestly. I end up working with homeowners, trying to identify problems more so. But with builders in Alaska, when they come to me as a consultant, because of my experiences, one of the first things I do is implement these programs. And it's rare to see zero energy ready homes because it's a high level energy efficiency requirement for that. But when we start to look at quality control programs for a builder to help them bring up the level of construction, the Energy Star programs can be the best source of information for those builders. And they can, and I have a builder that builds $1 million homes in Anchorage and Girdwood that they're having some issues starting to pop up. And first thing I did was like, let's implement a quality control program through Energy Star. You don't have to get certified, but starting incorporating the checklist. And so these programs have that benefit, even without being certified. eliminating those problems can save them hundreds of thousands of dollars and headaches like you wouldn't believe. So I wanted to press that up, to throw that out to the group as well. How'd I do on time, Jenny?
Doing good. I don't see any questions in the chat. I don't know if anyone has any they want to chime in with about any of the great sort of diversification techniques that Emmett has employed. I think it's really cool to hear about how you've like sort of broadened your focus, well, broadened but also deepened in a lot of different areas, like after some of the state programs ended.
Yeah, even the code inspection, the ICC code inspection, it ended up taking me 2 years to get the certifications through that program. I ended up doing another 100-hour training course for existing construction homes as well. And I incorporated that into my fold. I've always tried to layer things into my work and through my inspection process, because it gives me a better control over how I'm implementing it. But with ICC, I've actually come down to Texas to work with the an inspection firm that does this on a wide scale. And so I'm doing a lot of training with them. And so that's what you have to do in Alaska. You know, when you're not able to get inspections, sometimes you have to go out, whether it was the ITC training, I ended up going to Maine for training there for my level 1, and I went to some other state for my level 2 certification, and even ABBA was on the East Coast as well, and so those can get really expensive. And if there's one thing that I did, it was getting my foot into the door with Alaska Housing, getting into a program where there was a lot of energy ratings because of federal or state funding, and then identify pathways to increase my certification and understanding and education through these other organizations where I, in a lot of ways, I created demand just because of the certifications, right? People started, and so you have to kind of sell it. There has to be some sale. And I personally think I'm a horrible salesman, but the thermal imaging kind of sells itself. Yeah. So if anybody has any questions, I'd love to answer.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I can kind of kick off our bigger discussion while we wait for any specific questions from the group. I feel like each of you guys touched on, you know, different technology and techniques that trainings are using or that your programs are using. But I kind of wanted to expand on that a little bit and hear more about like what different models are you excited about? Do you think that need to be incorporated more in Alaska, or the past programs had success with or learned from? I'm thinking, you know, obviously the weatherization badges being mobile friendly could be huge for rural weatherization crews. But also, I think some past programs have used like a mentorship or apprenticeship approach. There's a ton of different virtual, even Emmett and I were talking about like, simulation style trainings out there now, which obviously, you need the bandwidth for, but yeah, I guess I'm curious to get all of your thoughts on how those should be mixed in as someone progresses, as we're thinking about planning programs to progress people through this career.
I'll jump in if nobody else is ready. One of the things I'm seeing, and since COVID, was everything's being switched over to online, and Jenny and I talked about that for a moment. But even with ResNet trainings as a comparison, right, or even going back to 2015, I saw some online approaches to training where they were doing simulations, especially for CAS. But I was just in some training last week in Houston, and they've actually expanded their training to even the energy auditing testing for an energy rater is now simulated too. And so if you're thinking about the size of the state of Alaska, ResNet ends up trying to do this nationally, and so they've been able to centralize it through this simulation process, and it's a big undertaking for them. I saw the program, and it was video game like. But those tests are all being done on simulation as well now. and so it's and even ICC, everything in 2020 was online through their Proctor program, and it was all open book and a difficult test, of course, but that's what I've been seeing more and more, especially since COVID.
I mean, I would say, in this field, you need some sort of hands-on training for a lot of these different components, right? You need to know how to set up the blower door, and if you're going to be working hands-on, you need to practice it. But we really like this sort of half online, half in-person approach where on your own time, right, your own supervisor can certify that you've done something in the field after you've learned about the theory behind it, and you can picture, you've seen a video of how it's completed, and then you actually put that to use in the field. So I mean, some sort of combination, right? If we can do the classroom portion, a lot of these courses have a classroom portion and a sort of a hands-on portion. And if we can do that hands-on portion, the classroom portion online, right? It gets people more excited for the, hands-on portion. And those, we do feel like those work together. It really gets people committed to keeping going through the whole end of the class. So I think there is like a happy medium where, you do some at home and some in person.
Yeah, totally. I'm even seeing, one of REAP's other programs, we work with NREL on their ETIP program, Energy Transitions Initiative Partnership Project, and we worked with CCHRC to do some energy audits in one of those communities last year, and Emmett was involved too. And there was like they like trained a crew to help with the audits to speed it up. And that was in-person training that was they did like a really long, like sort of like extended audit, and had the trainees like practice different steps of the audit, but being able to do some of that like online the day before, like before the auditor arrives, could be huge for like just the scale of work they could get done, like cutting down the amount of time on that first audit where they're having to walk through, and instead just checking their skills, and like providing tips rather than like teaching the whole thing. I think could be one great application for the virtual stuff. And yeah, Kevin, I was also curious with the raters, you mentioned the sort of final step being having 5 approved ratings. Are those something where a rater goes out in the field with that new rater to approve them, or is it like they submit it online? Is there any sort of like mentorship component there?
There's not a mentorship component at this moment, or maybe there doesn't have to be a mentorship component at this time. If the aspiring energy rater had someone help kind of with the ACWARM process, right, with the software modeling process of the rating, I would have no problem with that. Only just because they are getting the experience, right? They're seeing where everything goes, how everything kind of comes together, that sort of thing, and ultimately they have to finish it and present it. And so there isn't a mentorship program at the time. I'd actually be interested to hear Emmett's take. I have heard a little bit about, because Emmett, were you an approved rater during the last rebate program?
Yeah, I was one of the first groups that came through in 2008.
Perfect. Did you go through a mentorship program when you came through for the new rebate program?
No, we did the 5 still.
Okay, yep.
Yeah, there was no mentorship. There was just too much demand. I mean, you guys went from the 20 up to 125, I think, up to the peak, and so there's a lot of demand.
Gotcha. Yep. I didn't know. Yeah, I'm interested to find someone who kind of went through. It sounds like during that rebate program, and again, this might be a better conversation for offline, but it does sound like during that rebate program, HFC had a mentorship program where aspiring raters were going out with currently approved raters, just kind of as part of the experience piece, and yeah, just getting that dedicated experience time instead of having construction experience that maybe doesn't necessarily apply to building science or energy modeling, that sort of thing.
Yeah, radar and training has been utilized by other programs and other organizations, right? And so it allows, especially with today, today there's a lot more requirements of it during an energy rating, with the testing and the verification process for all of that is greater than in 2008. I've seen it step up increasingly over the years, and so there's a lot of work that one person has to do, and oftentimes raters are probably looking for somebody to go out with them that could be helping them and gather all that information. And so the rater and training aspect could be utilized by a lot of organizations, and it'd be a great way to get well-trained, equipped, even people up into a certification point for Alaska housing.
Yeah, absolutely. And a little bit off topic, but I really love how you talked about getting other certifications and just kind of broadening your horizon. I think one of the things that I hear from raters about is how to make energy rating a full-time job. And man, I think really smart and really interesting just to kind of hear your approach joining organizations, further certifications, and just kind of broadening that into like a full scope of work.
Yeah, it was rewarding too. I mean, getting involved in ICAT and even Cold Climate's been amazing, and I've been able to work with Rosa and other people, and it's not always everybody's approach, but it was something that I saw just an opportunity to give back and also learn so much over the years.
Yeah. I feel like there were a lot of threads that I would love to follow. We have like, maybe 3 more minutes of discussion here. I mean, one was just like, Emmett, you touched on, builder implementation. I know that's a huge, hurdle for a lot of these different programs, getting contractors on board to train up their crew or to incorporate these new methods. Yeah, I guess I was curious if you guys had any final thoughts about sort of, accelerating that uptake, any ideas for, like how you are going to try to get this badge program incorporated, more broadly in the industry, Rosa, or any ideas from Emmett or Kevin from things you've seen, successes or failures?
Yeah, so our goal with the badges program and with a couple of other initiatives that are developing at CCHRC is really to get building science, to get people interested in pursuing these trainings, right? Like having badges be just the very first step in, different career accelerators and pursuing, badges isn't a certification, but, going on to, once you've completed badges, to pursuing some like BPI certifications or many of the other ones that Emmett mentioned. So we want sort of like a, like sort of a stepping stone model where, you start small and you end up, potentially as an energy rater.
And I think I am hopeful that as kind of these new incentive programs come online, and maybe there's more discussion of energy ratings in general in the state of Alaska, there's been a bit of a lull in the last couple of years, but hopefully when people start talking about it more often, when people start hearing about it more often, we'll get a lot more people interested in energy rating. And we'll be ready with those trainings next fall.
Yeah, and do you mind, I forget, you mentioned a specific, did you mention a specific area that you were hoping for trainings in the fall, or was it just along the rater pathway or the rater sort of, yeah?
Yeah, like I said, so we are currently planning to recertify most of the raters in the state in the spring, and then after that it has coalesced, planning to start looking forward to this the fall for aspiring raters.
Got it. Thank you. Well, we have about 5 minutes left, so I want to give some time for any other updates from people in the room, other programs, progress on different projects, either that we've talked about in the past or not heard about. I have a couple that I can get us started with. And I know that this is kind of a lull time between the holidays, so you can always send them to me, over the next 3 months before our next meeting, and I can get them out to the group. One is that King Tech High School in Anchorage has formed an advisory group to further their plans and hopes to develop a sustainable food and renewable energy learning center to replace their collapsed greenhouse. And they really want to, one of the reasons that collapsed was because of high operating costs, and then they cut off the utilities, and then snow built up, and yeah. So one thing they really want to incorporate is, building efficiency, building science measures, and then, with the goal of teaching some of that technology to their students. So they are meeting again for their second advisory meeting on Monday, the 9th, from 3 to 5. And I'll drop a link to the sign up in the chat if anyone here is interested in sharing their expertise, or just getting notes on the project after meetings if you can't attend, to see how it's progressing. They're still kind of developing their action plan, and how to bring this project forward. And it looks like Stephanie shared something. Stephanie, I don't know if you want to hop off mute and share a little bit more about that.
Oh, just that ACAT is hosting an electric vehicles in Alaska webinar this Thursday. Michelle Wilbur with Alaska Center for Energy and Power is going to talk about some of the data she has on performance to date and the charging infrastructure. And so if folks are interested in that, I put a link in there.
Awesome. Thank you. And I know ACAT did you guys had a really cool day, where you visited was it like a net zero house, or yeah, I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, so it was with Toby Schroer, who folks might know from some of the work he's done. And it was a tour of his house in Anchorage. It's just a 1978 house with, poor insulation and all that. And he's basically cut his gas bill by 2/3. He added a masonry stove, the insulation, some triple pane windows. He used some products that folks here might know about, like rock wool insulation. And then in the afternoon, Eric Visser, who is a home builder and was president of the Alaska Home Builders Association, gave a hands-on window installation workshop. So walked people through how you would do one energy efficient window, just regular window, and people got to get the tape out themselves and plug the window in and all that. And so that was really just good group of people, figuring out it's always good to see how you actually do it in practice. And we may be able to offer that again, maybe in the next year for folks who would be interested in that. So if something you're interested in, let me know, because if we know there's interest, we'll try to make that happen.
Yeah, that sounds like a great resource, and also inspiring to see, as someone who lives in a Anchorage house built in the 60s. It'd be great to see someone whose bills went down by half.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun too.
Cool. Well, I don't see any other updates from folks, so I'll let you out of here a minute early. But thank you all for joining today. Thank you so much, Emmett, Kevin, and Rosa, for sharing your expertise. And yeah, looking forward to future conversations. Our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for Tuesday, March 4th, same time, 11 a.m., same place, Zoom. And hope you all have a really, really joyous and restful holiday season this month.
Thanks, Jenny.
Thank you all. Take care.
Bye. Thank you.